Hello, I'm presenting our CUBE project for the Materials and Methods class with Professor Kuchek. Our team members are myself, Dubras Tiniakos, along with Donovan, Joshua, and Matt. To complete the estimation, we use both drawings and the 3D sketch of the cube. While analyzing the materials, I noticed some inconsistencies, like differences in wall heights and window placements. These are common things that happen in the field, so we have to decide the best approach. After determining the correct dimensions, I created an Excel sheet to organize materials by area as you can see here, like the walls from 1 to 4, the floor plan, and the roof. This helps us work more efficiently and avoid confusion during construction. Next, I consolidated all similar materials to minimize waste. For example, I combined all 2 by 4s or 2 by 6 and etc. I also added a 10% waste factor to account for breakage or unusable pieces, making sure we had enough material on site. In this final chart that you see here, I summarize all the quantities required. This ensured we had an accurate and efficient plan for material procurement.
My name is Matthew Collins. My main job on this project was construction of the walls and floor. So when me and Nebraska first met to start construction for this project, we saw, or she noticed and brought up that the PDF file and the SketchUp file had different dimensions for some different parts of the project. Uh, we both talked about it and decided to go with the SketchUp file purely because we would have 360-degree access with the camera to be able to look at every little nook and cranny that we wanted to in the project and measure on the fly, which did end up benefiting us in the long term, even though we had to change some measurements and make it our own off of that. When we started out by cutting out the piece for the floor. Then we cut the pieces for the side that acted as the wall for the foundation, and the pieces that went underneath the floor to act as brace. We decided to go and put extra bracing on there, even though the PDF and the SketchUp file, one had the extra bracing and one just had one line of bracing. Then one other thing that we found incredibly useful was a spray that would help the glue cure faster. We also purchased a trim cutter that helped us cut pieces of wood much faster and cleaner, along with at certain angles, which helped immensely for the roof. Then when we went to the walls and windows, we first started with the easiest wall, the wall that didn't have any windows, just to get a feel for how to build the walls. Um, then after that, we went with the wall that had the regular size window. And for the first meeting, we finished with building the wall that had the full length window. The hardest part about the walls would definitely be the headers and the cripple studs, since the pieces of wood would be so small and fragile.
Overall, this project ran fairly smoothly for the team, but we did run into a few issues. One of these issues was with scheduling. We were frequently unable to find times that worked for every member of the team, so we only ended up meeting 3 times this semester. We met once at the beginning of the semester to discuss materials takeoffs, and we met twice later in the semester to actually build the project. Outside of this time, individual team members took the project home and worked on it individually. We also ran into an issue with the materials themselves. We did not have enough 2x6s. We ended up solving this issue by sourcing our own materials, but if we would have allowed more for wastage when we were originally estimating how many materials we would need, we might have avoided this problem altogether.
Hello, my name is Josh Danick, and I did the shop drawings for the Materials Framing Cube project. I'm going to go over some challenges faced and problems that I ran into and how I resolved them. So for the shop drawings, I had to take new measurements to give the actual dimensions of all of the different components of this framing cube. And when I compared them against what was provided initially for the shop drawings that we were given to do our takeoff, I noticed some differences with what my group had done as far as some of the lateral bracing goes. So I used the SketchUp software to remove it and reflect a current view of what our framing cube would look like along with the dimensions. And my approach to it was not to overwhelm the user or the reader on what they're looking at. So I simplified down some of the measurements that were shown on the drawings to better fit what our target was to show. And I think looking back at this, it would have been a lot better to do a lot of these measurements for the walls and the roof during the construction of the framing cube rather than after. Because it was a little tricky getting a tape measure in some of the spots, but I was able to sort myself around that and get these shop drawings the actual dimensions of what our framing cube had. So thank you for hearing what I had to do for the portion of the project. I had some scheduling conflicts, so I couldn't really be there for the building of it, but I was able to have my part in these shop drawings.
Hello, this is Donovan McCormick. I was a part of Group 2 in the Framing Cube project, and this is my portion of the presentation. The main thing I contributed to the project was the framing of the roof. I did work a little bit on the front portion of the framing cube. I had to change the angles of the walls to match up with the material. One of the main problems I encountered was running out of material, not once but twice. The first time I went and asked Dr. Kochek for more because I was on campus and I was able to go ask. But the second time I ran out while I was actually at home on a weekend, and I wasn't wanting to make the trip back out there, and I didn't know if he'd be there, so I decided to dig into my collection of scrap lumber, and I made some out of some 1/4-inch plywood scraps I had lying around, and they actually worked pretty well. So yeah, here's me cutting up those pieces on my radial arm saw, and I think it came out pretty good. The other issues we encountered as a team, it was very difficult to find time to meet up with each other. It just seems like this semester everyone had a pretty heavy workload, so we really only met up like once, unfortunately, but we got it done. The other issue, of course, I kind of mentioned this before, the 2x6 material was really closer to 2x12, so we had to change a bit in the drawings in order to compensate. Here's the finished product. Despite the troubles we faced, I think it came out pretty good. We had to change up a few things, but I think overall we did pretty good. And 2x12s for a roof will definitely withstand any snow load we'll face in Florida. So yeah, that's all. Thank you.